within all of that, it comes with a lot of survivor's guilt. And within a lot of survivor's guilt, you question, you're like, the purpose, the behind my survival, why did I live? I don't want to be here. This sucks. I didn't choose to be here.
I fought so hard for what?
Fought so hard for what? Like, quite literally, I was just thinking that the other day. I was like, fought so hard to fucking live, and it fucking sucks. That's where the spiritual part comes in, that growth part, that awareness that I am here. I can make impact in some form.
Well, I mean, you do to me.
It's important, and I whenever those thoughts come in, I think, and this is what actually helped me through it, is I think of my mom.
I do too. Welcome to What's My Thesis. My name is Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Zeina Baltagi. Zeina, we haven't talked in like 4 years. I had you on in 2020 during like a crazy time.
Yeah, you put me on your audio podcast when you were starting.
I think we did a video too.
Well, we did Zoom podcast.
Yeah, it's a Zoom podcast. We've never met in person. I don't think we've ever, like, because I was so shocked by your height. Like you're pretty tall. And in a good way. I think that's awesome. But it's like you're not this size.
No.
You're not Instagram sized.
Yeah.
How you been? What's been going on with you since like usually I try to have people come on with a topic, but since we're just catching up, like what you've been up to. We already know your art background, your art history.
Yeah.
People can go back to that one, your origin story, as I like to say it. But what you've been up to? Are you still with Coaxial? Yeah,
so a lot of things have happened since 2020.
I bet.
I could start. So, because I definitely support coaxial, but let's see. Let's start, because 2020 is start of quarantine, pandemic time, but also was my graduating time from graduate school. So I finished my MFA in that spring of 2020.
So you were doing remote?
Yeah, like right during lockdown. Basically I had the whole not remote, and then it went down in the end of the semester of the last semester.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty lucky at least.
Kind of, because you got to have the experience of all of research being on campus. Later students didn't have that, but we didn't have a thesis show in person. Everything that you were expecting when you left, we didn't receive, because it's a different moment.
And they gave you a discount, right?
Well, I was a provost fellow, so I was already pretty highly funded and very grateful. I went to Davis for multiple reasons, but let's be honest. The education was basically free. I got paid to go to school versus paying to go to school.
Which is what I advocate for sure.
Yeah, and I advocate as a teacher all the time. I'm like, you could choose if you have different options of schools, and depending on what your reasons and what you plan on doing, you don't have to pay for school. And especially now, like these MFA programs, like they need students to survive.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so I did the Davis, graduated, came to LA, and like many people,
okay, that's right, because where were you before?
I was in Moore Park when we did that interview.
Okay.
My parents live in Moore Park, California, and in Fillmore, California.
That's where you grew up?
No, I grew up in Stockton.
Okay.
So,
but you are like a hardcore California.
Hardcore California. I was born and raised in Stockton, California up until I was 16, and I moved to Fillmore in Ventura County when I was 16. And
is that close to the Central Valley? I don't know how far that is.
It's Ventura County, so the other side of the valley.
So it's like close to CalArts.
Yeah. Actually, it is literally like the county of
all
CalArts.
The points of references in this podcast are art.
Yeah, for sure. So CalArts is there. You got Cal State Channel Islands a little bit, Ventura County. Anyways, yeah. So long story. We're back at origin stories, but born and raised in Stockton. I'm a lot of my, perspective comes from being raised in Stockton as well as in Lebanon. Um, And yeah, so basically what happened in 2020, I left, I graduated. What am I going to do? My mom was like, you can come back home, but you bring nothing with you. So I literally sledgehammered my thesis, tossed it into the dumpster. I was all like, I got a picture.
Wow. What was your thesis? Was it the penny stuff?
No, it was, I started that in graduate school, but I ended the thesis with building a concrete sidewalk.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I built 2 concrete sidewalks.
And there was like cloth?
Yeah,
involved?
So I made 2 cul-de-sacs. One of them is still permanently installed, wrapped around a bay leaf tree in the gardens in UC Davis. And then I built another sidewalk that was modular, where I stacked essentially they're like 300-pound, literally, like as they would standard size sidewalk squares. And I used cafeas as the expansion joints within the sidewalk.
That's what I thought they were. I just didn't want to misremember.
Yeah, no, they were cafeas. And essentially talking about how we're under the rubble of colonialism, which is which is quoted as like ideas of modernity and like kind of, shit like that. So there was that whole unwrapping, talking about the vertigo of being yourself standing in one place on a sidewalk square, and that vulnerability that we get from that we realize when we encounter other people on a sidewalk. And so that was like the whole thesis. I left really actually happy about that work as like a conclusion to because I've made so much work around mobility, starting out with my relationship to my body and just very personal work and my own mobility within my own body, and really then moving into ideas of what does it mean to be culturally mobile. Is that cultural mobility, spiritual mobility, economic mobility, and how that all is tied in. And that's where the pennies came in. And it came down to the sidewalk. It's this public space where it delineates where we're allowed to walk on this planet.
It's like one of the few public spaces, right?
And it's supposed to be public space, right?
I watch a lot of auditors.
Yeah, but for who? Who is it safe for to walk down that sidewalk?
Well, no. One of the things that I find interesting is that, like, for auditors, like, police are always, they audit the police, and they'll like go up on people doing stops and stuff. Sometimes they'll just antagonize cops just by videotaping them to show how insecure they are, which I think is an interesting practice. But that's how I learned that the sidewalk is like almost sacrosanct, because once you step on the street, they can get you for a traffic violation, right?
For sure.
So once you're off that curb, there's like a really interesting thing that happens there, and like businesses can't trespass you off of the sidewalk. It's not theirs. So as a concept that is in this country, right? Like where there's no piazzas, when you rolling piazzas like in Italy and stuff. We don't have that. We don't have those third spaces. It's like almost the only third space outside of work and home.
We have the sidewalk. And
it's just this strip that you're allowed to go from point A to point B, get to work, get to home.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And I mean, I could address the infrastructure of sidewalks and how they're repaired in different cities. Like we see that in Los Angeles, and like sidewalks that never get repaired in certain neighborhoods, and it's like so inaccessible. But really thinking of the sidewalk as an idea, and that's why I was like, I got to build a sidewalk, because it has everything. It was speaking to everything. My relationship to myself when I get on that sidewalk, of course. But it's a place where, depending, could kids play, houseless people sleep, protests are happening, vending, sales, and commuting, and so much activities happening on that sidewalk. So yeah, it was really, really important to address as this space. And then when we look at public space, we have to think of, the different layers of feelings, safety, that people have in relation to it.
I have two questions, but I'm going to go with I saw some of your work at LA Art Corps, and this is one of the things that I love about art, because it's like, it's such a personal representation. Now, you mentioned mobility, and one of your pieces was had something to do with your leg. Are you comfortable talking about? We can cut it out if this is not a fair question to ask.
Well, that's like the root of, I think, my entire art practice was, and I could say it very, so, my first art, I think was art, and I found it, and I have it. It's a VHS video that I made with my, other friends, my mates in Oakland Children's Hospital.
How old were you when you were there?
I was 12. Wow. Around 12. Yeah. So the summer of 7th to 8th grade. I think I was 11 to 12. I was diagnosed early on, then in 2000 with osteosarcoma, which was bone cancer.
Okay. I did not realize. Yeah, so, I just saw the scar.
Yes, it's in the work. It's in the work, and it's in there, and it's the root of. I had bone cancer, a large tumor the size of around a softball.
Whoa!
And it was growing and growing underneath my knee, and I mean, we talk about economic mobility and all sorts of things. My family and I did not have health insurance at the start of that. Yeah. But my dad had some friends that were doctors, and we're like a lovable family. So I remember going to a dermatologist, going to a cardiologist, basically my dad's friends. And they would look and they check me out, and they're like, you need to get her at a biopsy. Like,
no, for sure.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
And and my mom's on top of it. She's an immigrant mom, so she hustled, got the insurance. I went admitted into Oakland Children's Hospital that week. They did the biopsy, and before I ever came out of anesthesia, they put me through my first session of chemo, which literally kind of put me in a coma, actually, or like I was asleep for a whole week. I don't. It's really strange because what is coma? That's how I know. Like when someone's sleeping, I was aware of around me. I was like, it was weird because there was like a dream state where reality and your dreams combine for like the whole week because you're like sleeping.
That was like my first question. So thank you.
Yeah, and I know this because I was 12 and receiving my first session of chemo. My sister's in high school in Lebanon. So my mom just, hustles within that. She worked.
Parents are fucking crazy about their kids, dude.
She loves the hell out of me.
Yeah, I know.
And she brought my sister from Lebanon. She's like, okay, you're done with high school there. You're going to high school here. And brought the family back together.
Did Lebanon have any health insurance at the time? Like, what's it called? Universal healthcare? Or would that have been an option? Or
I wouldn't go to Lebanon for that healthcare. There's multiple reasons for that.
No, for sure.
I'm in California. I mean, there is a huge amount of privilege to that. So I talk about within my practice, I'm not exactly talking about disability. I don't even see myself as I'm an upright person at this point. Yeah. I've really, my body, I may likely and will likely become disabled again and have to relearn how to walk again.
Why it might come back? Or
no, it wouldn't come back, but just like a machine part, it's a prosthetic and it might break down. It might loosen. I've come to terms with that too. If I were to replace the part, it's not, at least I'm not the trauma of the cancer. It's really like it's a machine part. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
But So it's the root of the practice is that experience.
How long was the ordeal?
It was
for?
like a year and a half or so.
But when you're like 12
protocol.
years old, right?
Yeah, it was. I just know it was like an academic year and a summer that I missed from school.
Wow.
So I entered through high school. So I basically just skipped 8th grade.
Okay.
And I did homeschooling, so I didn't skip. I still went to school while in the hospital. But anyways, while I was there, my dad, we had a family little camcorder and video camera, and I made video art. Like, I now look back, I made video art. I knitted beanies for everyone because one of the hospital moms was knitting hats with her kid, and I wanted her to teach me, and she taught me. So I started making little beanies. I mean, for sure, like the art practice started there. And I look back at that video and I'm like, I cry because I'm 12. And it was like the first month of chemo. So I didn't fully lose my hair. And I had convinced all of these other patients to be in my video. And we created a newsreel, literally talking about the weather outside, even though we don't go outside. And like the books, because there's like a school room at the Oakland Children's Hospital and a playroom. And I had a whole rant on like needing books that are to our reading level, that I don't want to be reading like kindergartners books. Those are cute, but I'm 12 and I want to read like, I don't know, Sylvia Plath or something.
I think it's probably a good thing they didn't have that there, or you might get depressed. Positive thinking and shit. I've never read it. I just know. It has a reputation.
It does. I was 12, 13 though, so that's where you're like
I thought you were going to be like
emo.
Nancy Drew. No. I don't have a good concept of what 12-year-old girls are into.
They're into Saul Williams. Like, quite literally. I had this Step Up open mic book that I got from Barnes and Nobles, and it was my everything, and I read it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And like there was Saul Williams in it. So we were 12-year-old girls are reading Saul Williams and exploring that emo shit. But yeah. And
we definitely didn't talk about this last time.
No.
So this is a different art origin story,
But yeah, so I had my surgery on my leg. It was scheduled on September 11 of 2001.
Oh, that's fun.
So there's a coincidence there. And then also my 13th birthday. So I'm becoming a teenager, kind of like moving through the stages, is on September 11. So 2001, I was turning 13 that year. My birthday's also 9/11.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh my God, how much fun you must be having.
It was funny. So basically, thinking the level of, because what is privilege but people that have labored on your behalf, essentially. Yeah. That you not doing that because other people are working on your behalf, whether it's generationally been done ancestor wise or oppressively. Mm-hmm. And I am I am upright because of multiple things. Being in California, specifically at the time, Stockton, California, timing, my surgery on my leg, I was given option of, would you try this endoprosthetic or amputation? Because no one had done it prior to me either. So I was like a case study within that.
Wow. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
What year was this?
This was 9/11, 2001.
And I'm sorry, how old? You're 13. So you were born in the 90s? Yeah.
88.
88. Okay. Yeah.
1988. So all of that, having parents really fight, for your life. A father that like held it down so mom could buckle down, and all a lot of things kind of had to like went into play for my survival. and I'm so grateful for it. And so like there is so much, just like grateful blessings that I've had through that. But also a lot of realizations, of course, and it really created the groundwork for that I had to investigate in my practice. And that's what I started to do when I went to community college, and then went to Cal State Northridge. I just was making work about my body, my physical body, my scars, my relationship to it, just shredding paper. I'm paper maker, print maker, whatever it takes maker. And I recycle things from my direct experience, and I needed to recycle my diary letters, my medical paperwork, basically all of that, and kind of grapple through it. So a lot of the artwork is a spiritual labor, an emotional labor to grow. And I truly believe that in the art. Like if you're not growing with the work, then why are you making it? Like we don't get, as artists, sometimes of course I do get sales or shows or different recognitions or things, but what's most important is that we're growing in the practice, and like I truly trying to be like a better person with every project that I'm trying to push through. And a part of that is investigating the self. That's like a core part, so that you could be a better person, kind of like, then put that into action in my daily life.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So 12, 13, 9/11, 2001, I'm learning how to walk. I'm growing markers of feminist. And a lot of things. And in 9/11, 2001, where all Muslim, Arab Americans, and anyone that wore a headscarf became a target.
Yeah.
So really mobility when it comes to race, my body, and ability with my body, racial identity, gender markers and gender identities, and sexuality, all of that gets tied, just me walking down a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So it all carries forward from the early video when in the hospital arts that I made, to the poetry video walking transit art that I would make in undergrad, to grounding all these gas station paperwork talking about physical mobility, to economic pennies, economic mobility, how many pennies, also like economic labor attached to the body, how that breaks down the body. You talk about that 2020 to now, what have I been up to? Working my fucking ass off. And I've been doing that. I feel that. And not everyone, but we all work really hard. So I'm not special in that. But
no, we don't.
Not many. But I would say I speak for myself.
Yeah.
Well, I can only speak for myself, and that's how I gear the art practice too. The realizations I make, but with labor, it breaks down the body. I cannot be on my feet. I'm not supposed to. And I've been saying this, being upright, looking able-bodied does not mean that I can do everything, or even if I can, doesn't mean I should. Like it's gonna ail me later. I'm gonna pay for that later. And there's a negotiation that I feel that every disabled person does within that. I want to do this, but it's going to expel this much out of me, and I'm not going to be able to do this after. So I'm going to outweigh which is I'm going to prioritize to do, so that my body could withstand it. And that's why I went to graduate school. I was like, I was teaching kids. I can't be infinitely teaching kids. It was putting a toll on my body, and
like
it does not pay.
Yeah.
You're stuck at a $25 an hour rate forever.
No,
you're like, this is minimum wage.
And everybody every kid has a parent whose job makes more money and they don't respect you.
No.
They just don't. They could give a fuck.
They couldn't. So that's why I was like, I go into grad school because I know I'm meant to teach college anyways.
How's that been for you?
Yeah, so
because I see on Instagram you're really into it.
I'm really into it. I'm meant to be a teacher. I care about being an educator as much as anything else. It's just a part of who I am, I think. Is that part, that community part. I've been doing it since I was like a little kid, gathering people and
making videos
and doing things with each other. Like, we're gonna do this activity now.
Well, what I find interesting just hearing you talk about this is that like I am, my constitution is like I'm kind of a little bee. Yeah. You know, like I've had OCD my whole life. And I'm like just constantly struggling with melancholy and stuff like that, which hearing your version of it, like your version of your adversity and how you dealt with it is like, makes me feel like such a chump. No, I mean, that's not the intention. And I'm also kind of being facetious, but
I have my fair share of bed rot.
Yeah.
My student likes to say that. She used that word. I'm like, that's actually phrase that's accurate.
Yeah. But I it's interesting. I can't imagine, like, I think that one of the things that we're not really like that we're kind of overlooking is that there's like a sense of mortality that was also looming over you, right? Like with the biopsy, was it malignant, or do you continue to have to be?
No. Okay. So I'm a complete survivor at this point.
You're a complete survivor. Fully. No remission, nothing like that.
No, remission is generally like that very scary time of 5 to 10 years after you came out of your treatment.
But you went through that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, like it's been it's 2024. I got out of there. Like habit hurts. I like doing that, but it hurts. I'm sorry. So it's so 2000 what 1 to 2024.
Yeah.
My trauma could have a drink. It's like 23 years old. 24. It's soon you'll be able to rent a car.
But I guess what I'm observing about my life experience and yours is that I spent so much of my life thinking that I wanted to die, you know, and like that, and that's like such a privilege. You know? I mean, it sucks to have mental illness and all of that. No, I'm not minimizing that, but a difference in perspective that is good for me to hear. You know, and is instructive for me to hear, because like that sound, especially like you're that age.
I'm very happy to hear you share that.
Oh no, but like and you are a survivor, because I my brother's best friend growing up, his name is Lisandro, and it was so crazy just to watch it on Instagram. He had a daughter who died, and she was a Make-A-Wish kid. And they went. I'm not trying to pull at your heartstrings.
This is why I always donate to Make-A-Wish. By the way, everyone, Make-A-Wish was actually one of those foundations that grants wishes.
But it was like I was expecting it. Yeah. It was known. They went on a trip to Italy. That was her Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
And then she was gone. And I was like, and I can't even imagine what that is like to just have a child. You know, I think she died at around the same age, 11.
Yeah.
And then they just fucking took a leave of absence from work and went, like him, his wife,
the grief,
and the daughter, and they just fucking dipped.
Yeah.
You know, like left life. They were like, we need to process this. I cannot imagine that, you know?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, my whole goal was to not let my parents go through that.
I know, right?
So I had to, because the situation is fucked. My mind and positivity did not beat the cancer. Let's just be real with that. Yeah. You can't beat cancer with a positive brain set. You beat it with a surgery and protocol and a combination of Eastern and Western caring and advocating for yourself, or having someone to advocate on your behalf. I was very lucky to have a mom that
I love your parents
let me
so
take
much right
a
now.
single pill that I did not, that was like, she checked everything.
Yeah.
She made, and the in between chemo stages when you're so vulnerable. I did not see a soul for that entire year and a half. I was literally had me and my mom.
Yeah.
And my immediate family too, like loved me, but like almost living room distance, you know.
Yeah.
I'm in my room. And
so you were a pro when lockdown happened.
I was really already, I was like, I got this.
What? I can't leave the house?
Oh, poor me.
Brings back memories.
Let me pull out the yarn.
It's like, I have coping mechanisms already.
I made.
So you didn't drink a lot, is what I'm getting.
I made my thesis.
That's amazing.
I wrote my thesis and made the best work. But regardless, there is a level of tenaciousness and also being young, like I'm not gonna die. And I was totally like, what I do today as an artist, as a community member, I look back and I realize I did that in the hospital. Like, this is who I am. This is what I've been doing.
And if I
like, I survived through like being loving with other folks and them loving me.
And if I can say, like, I don't want to get into why I know this, but you have some of the best integrity in this community that I've ever encountered. We have not spent a lot of time, but I've always felt like you're a good friend.
Oh,
so I think that's kind of the vibe that you give. I'm sure that's not exclusive to me. I'm sure a lot of people feel that, but that is definitely one of the reasons that, like, I don't have a lot of people come back on the show because there's just so many artists. And then I remember, I'm like, fuck, I need to have Zeina.
Yeah. So
can I ask
that will billow down to all the nonprofit work I did. Coaxial, me working that too, was essentially for the founder. I admired her, loved what she did and she's doing, and she wanted to go to graduate school, and I had just finished graduate school. I was all like, be proud to hold the fort down while you go. And then they went, and then they left and graduated. And
then I'm
I'm out.
Nice.
I was never meant to direct a noise venue and art residency venue. It was an amazing experience. I'm meant to be a teacher. But it was always my life goal. I'm a teacher and an artist. And
it's also a little bit outside of your practice, right? Like, are you a noise musician? Did any of that rub off on you?
I definitely have. I mean, I make video art and make soundscapes for them, and I'm noisy, but I'm not a part of the noise scene, like integrated. That was. Although I have like noise friends and stuff, but it's different than being like inside of the scene and supporting it.
And to be fair to Coaxial, they also do. They don't necessarily. I saw a really amazing show that
they do amazing residencies as well.
Yeah, the residency Dakota Newt did one there, which our good friend, which we both fucking love, and
we
is
love
one
Dakota.
Of the another super supportive person. I fucking like. And it's funny because he's culturally from a different perspective. So I will share my feelings to him, and he'll be like, okay. But I still got to,
Yeah.
But he expresses his love in different ways. But
I love him. Yeah. So I'm very proud of a lot of programming that I worked through there. So did a lot of programming. So especially the residency program. So Dakota New, Aaron Estrada, amazing artist. Yasmin Qasim's beautiful.
So you were part of you running it while he did the God.
Was I? I think I stepped out at that point. I think at that point it was just programming that was running, but I don't know if I was in. I think Melody and Micah were
in charge.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? As I'm getting older, like when I was, around 15, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I became very rebellious against it. I became a hardcore atheist. I became like, faith is stupid and all of this stuff. But as I'm getting older and as life is progressing, I'm fighting that less and less, and kind of not actively spiritual, but when I'm vulnerable, like when I have those dark thoughts, which still come up every now and then, there is a comfort there. And I think that that's a human comfort, whether there is, like, it's something in our makeup, whether it is actually objectively true, I think is beside the point, because it becomes real for me at that moment. And I feel comfort when I'm like, hey, God, I'm feeling terrible. Please help me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned spiritual mobility. Are you comfortable talking a little bit about that? Because I mean, especially after talking about that experience, I'm fascinated and I feel like I'm going to learn something that I could take away.
I feel like, I feel grateful to have a well-built conscience that's been constructed by my parents, my grandparents, my siblings, my peers and friends. Like, literally, it's helped me build a good conscience of how to navigate this world.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. And I've also received so much religious stuff from all over. I grew up, I'm Muslim, and I very much feel that practice inside of me. But I also went to Catholic school.
Oh, really? Well, I still feel some of the Catholicism in me, so I relate to that.
Yeah,
you know,
so there's the Catholic school part. And I've been around a lot of religions, and I know a lot more about Christianity, Catholicism than I do about Islam, actually, because
you went to Catholic school.
And I'm growing up in the States where it's Christmas central, you know?
Yeah.
So like we live in a Christian state that we don't really want to say out loud. We think like we're like and it's multi-religious and ethnic, but we live in a Christian state. Like Christmas is rolling around. It's Christmas all the time. I don't see Ramadan being treated like Christmas. No. Or the Eid.
Or Eid Mubarak. All those things. I just see them on Instagram and I don't know what they mean.
Oh, this means
it's a happy Mubarak.
Happy Eid.
Eid, okay.
Which is like, you know, happy end of Ramadan, or
oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is happy breaking of fasts, and how are happy people coming from pilgrimage. We celebrate them. But anyways, so I've received a lot, and I've taken all the good stuff from everything.
Well, what are the good stuff?
Like anything that like applies, that I feel like, oh, okay, that's like totally an applicable situation.
My guy
and my parents never really pushed Islam on me or anything. It's just who we are and how we love each other. So it's just sweetness that way. And
were you? Did you have an atheist period at all? Were you ever skeptical of religion? See, my thing was like, I think that like my guy was St. Francis of Assisi.
Yeah.
That was really the thing, and I've said it on the show before that when I went to Assisi, which is like a fucking amazing. Have you been?
Mm-mm.
It's an amazing hilltop city. Like it has like
beautiful.
A main way and then like two other sideways, right? And then you walk up to the church and it's amazing. And I think I've told the story, but I was like, I had my backpack and I was rolling a joint in the backpack. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, this is a sacred place. You should not be doing this here. You know, like, and I thought I was being slick, but I was like, not being slick at all. And then after that, I smoked the joint. And I was like, and I had a fucking spiritual experience where I was like, all the stories that my dad told me about St. Francis, my dad's name is Francisco, so it's his patron saint. And man, I was just like, fuck, like I transcended something. Yeah. And I'm sure the weed helped, but like,
it didn't do everything.
It didn't do everything. No. The place, the location, all of that. So I don't know are there any takeaways from even Catholicism? Because I still have the guilt. Like I've been in therapy about it.
So you're talking about the wishing upon death situation. I wanted to retouch on that actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's a huge part of that practice too, is I mean, let's be real. I'm a person that been through childhood illness, through economic and collapse and
a whole culture turning against you guys.
And well, it was always against us, but
that shit was heightened.
It was heightened. People got permission for a lot. But it, within all of that, it comes with a lot of survivor's guilt. And within a lot of survivor's guilt, you question, you're like, the purpose, behind my survival. Why did I live? I don't want to be here. This sucks. Didn't choose to be here.
I fought so hard for what?
Fought so hard for what? Like, quite literally, I was just thinking that the other day. I was like, fought so hard to fucking live, and it fucking sucks. But that's where the spiritual part comes in, that growth part, that awareness that I am here. I can make impact in some form.
Well, I mean, you do to me.
It's important, and I whenever those thoughts come in, I think, and this is what actually helped me through it, is I think of my mom.
I do too.
Yeah, and how there's different griefs in this world that are really, really different, that I can't begin to understand, that are really heavy, and that is the grief of the loss of a spouse, choosing the love of your life, your person, and that grief they were passed. The loss of a parent is huge. It's like I've told about it, and alhamdulillah, my parents are okay. But it's like losing a limb, and the loss of a child, and we see that all over the world, and how heavy that grief is. And I'll have to do is just outlive my parents, and that's what helps me keep going. I mean, once they're gone, all bets are off. But I just have to outlive them. Yeah. And then I feel that after that, God forbid, I'll find another reason. I'll be like, I'll have to outlive this person. Yeah. And that helps me. And I'm like, I just have to outlive you. Yeah. Because I don't want you to go through the pain of losing how awesome I am. Yeah. I am quite vain that way too. I'm like,
well, hey man, if vanity keeps you alive, what are you gonna do?
I'm like, I know, I'm a joy to this fucking world, whether you like it or not.
I would grieve you for sure.
For sure. So so I'm gonna keep going and be grateful, even though my guilt is sometimes goes through the roof, and I'm like, totally wish for all.
You did go to Catholic school. Yeah. Anytime I hear guilt,
I know so guilt's so heavy in me, and I'm like, this is the Catholic school girl.
I know. I had some friends in Miami like that were Catholic and like very active in the church, but were like Anglo-Saxon. Yeah. And that dude is more Latino than anybody I know. Yeah. Like it's funny like that, and not to harp too much on the sadness and the depression as part of it, but when you were mentioning the coma stuff, I had a friend, I've talked about her on the show before, my friend Julie, who ended up who completed self-deletion, we're on YouTube, in 2020. And she had been in a coma for a year because she was living in an apartment with black mold. She got out of the coma, and I don't think she was ever able to kind of get it together. Yeah. But your explanation of the coma kind of gave me some insight into that. So I appreciate that. And then the other thing, like, yeah, man, sometimes I think my friend my Catholic friend, he has a thing where he's like we have a way of kind of trying to rationalize things and feel better about our failings, you know, and like he wants to get, I feel weird saying it, but he wants to get he wants to get life insurance so that if he dies, his mom has something. And I'm like, and he's kind of drinking himself to death. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, your mom does not want that. No. And I've engaged in stuff like that. Like I was like, I could just leave all my money to my mom and my sister.
No, they don't want your money.
No, exactly.
They don't want your fucking money.
I I know, right? But that's the fucking dark shit that happens to the brain. So anyway, I was not ready to go here, but I'm so happy we did, because I mean, people, I think it helps people to hear shit like this.
It does. I mean, like, it's not without lots of work, and that's how I know too, when I see people I realize myself too, because I've been down that rabbit hole where I try to chase people down it. Like, they'll go down there, and I also concluded that I can't do that as much as I want to chase people down, like, and pull them out of that rabbit hole. It's so something that you kind of got to play out to that give up point. You're either going to not do it, and I know this because when I was 21, I completely dove down there. And my friend was talking about how many accidents have you, and I was like, I've actually been in a few, and I could be like, and those, I just would drive my car down a ditch. I wouldn't hit it. I wouldn't want to put anyone in other danger. But like, I remember my Mazda minivan, there was no alcohol involved. It was 100% depression. Yeah. Just driving my car down the ditch.
Yeah, no, that ideation stuff is intense.
Yeah, so you got to play. Sometimes you play it out, and then you pull back, and you're like, and then you come to conclusions and realizations and seek help.
First thing I did when I started having those thoughts, and this is recently, about leaving money for my family, is like, I told them. Because I'm like, and I think that, like, it's important. One of the things about depression that's crazy is that, like, it is self-isolating. Like, something in the mechanics of it makes you insufferable.
It does.
And that's the disease trying to fulfill itself, you know? Yeah. So the only thing you can do is really make sure that, and like, man, I think about, like, honestly, starting this podcast, like, I've never had a better self-image of myself, because, like, I get to project all my vulnerabilities and all of this stuff, and like, people respond to it and like want to be my friend, and I'm like, holy shit. I've never experienced that before. So anyway, people definitely want you here. So if you're having thoughts, like, we don't want you to hurt yourself.
Let's say that in general, since this is a public podcast.
Yeah. No.
If you have those thoughts, they're real, and we're here to tell you and to find support. And
you're just, you know, like, when you eat acid and you have a bad trip, I don't know if you've ever experienced.
You have to ride through it.
You have to ride through it, and you have to, like, you just have to remember you're on drugs. Yeah. You're depressed, you're on the depression drug, and it will pass. You can get through it and all of that. So anyway, this got really real.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the part where it's like, I don't really know I don't have advice, right? It's like this. Yeah. Don't push your people away. No, you know, that they don't want to be pushed away. Yeah. That was kind of the thing that happened with Julie, where I regret that. Like, you know, not that I could have done anything, but I was avoiding her. Yeah, you could have. Yeah. But we can change the subject. No, let's switch it up. We've been going for a while too, so I have no idea. We got 10 minutes. I know you have a heart out, so I do. What time is it? It's the 12:04. Okay, we have time. Yeah, we have time. I don't know how much actual gems that you got out of this, though, so you might edit out a lot. No, this is like 30 minutes. Of no, good not stuff. At all. Not at all. I have been sitting here listening the whole time. Great. It is hard. You know, like, I've done the show where I had Molly Schulman interview me on my 200th episode, and afterwards I was like, I don't know what I just said, because it's definitely, you're in the vulnerable position. I'm in the guiding the direction of the conversation, and you're just spilling out. Yeah, you're like kind of you're like revealing yourself to me. So, but I really appreciate it, and I mean, you're so sincere and so charismatic and such a like kind. Like, I can tell the spiritual work, which is why I wanted to ask you about that. But can we get back a little bit into your art practice? Yeah. You know, what are you working on now? Where are you culminating after all of this experience? Because I'm familiar with some of the work you sent me. The reason I remember
these pieces is because back then I had an Instagram account where I would post the work of people, and then I lost it for sharing other people's work.
Yeah.
And
oh shit, that sucks.
Yeah, and so I still see
everyone does that. I don't understand how that is.
I don't know. I think I may have said some.
Unless like an artist like was like, I want that off of there or something. But
yeah,
why?
they could have just asked me.
Yeah, they could have.
Like, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it also had to do something with the way I was talking about anti-imperialism. So, and then they just gave me this reason.
They'll ghost you out for that.
Yeah. But that's not like I really stopped.
Yeah.
But so like, what are you working on now? What are you examining now? Where are we?
It's been a rough year.
Oh man, the election fucked everybody up for sure.
Yeah.
The anxiety of the collective consciousness, anxiety of everything, like no matter how you want it. I was even like not invested, but I was invested in the suffering.
Yeah. Honestly, not not the election, but like everything globally.
Yes.
Between Palestine, Lebanon, all over the place, Congo and Sudan and Yemen. Everywhere. Syria. There's just so much, and I'm like, what needs to be out? And I've done a couple things because I've been asked into a couple shows or performances, and I'm not sure what to put out per se. So in performance, I made a couple, like I leaned on the educator side of me. They were like performance lectures essentially of let me educate you on this. And those went, I think they were effective.
What was the topic?
Palestine, a number of deaths, genocide. I geared the performance lectures on all of the cultural art institutions that were destroyed and all of the artists and writers and educators that were murdered. And
all the journalists.
And all the journalists.
More than
basically the entire. It's a cultural genocide as well, and a genocide against education and history and everything. So I have a lot of milk crates and they carry things. I use them in a lot of the jobs I've had. I'm an artist and educator at this time. It took a lot of build up, yo. I worked everywhere. At Verizon, at H&R Block, at Target. I sold mad weed all over San Fernando Valley. Eventually started working at dispensaries. I was going to manage a dispensary.
Man.
Daria Jade Med Spa, shaving men's backs for lasers. Therapy. So much different jobs.
That hit home because I have a hairy back. I'm like, oh my god!
I was like these poor.
I couldn't handle the intimacy.
So it's an intimate. But like also like I get the back part. There's other parts of body parts. I'm like, you could have shaved this at home, girl. Why am I shaving this for you? And so many gas stations. Worked at gas stations, liquor stores, and. Labor is a part. It's the root. There's mobility and labor, and with mobility is labor. So I have all these milk crates, and I made these milk crate lanterns. I poured resin into them and made them light up, and they're cool. But I realized that I wanted to mess with these crates some more. So I'm using them as like framing mechanisms around prints.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Sometimes I make the work and then sometimes I put it out, sometimes not. There's a lot of secret work. And that's how
you do a career. Yeah. You can't show everything.
Yeah, and not everything is actually for the public. Sometimes I just need to do it. And
and it leads to the next thing.
And sometimes it's really bad art and you have to make the bad art before you get to the good art.
You got to draw bad before you can draw good, for sure.
That's the for sure thing. So don't know if this is significant, but I started because these images are etched in my head. And so I made etchings of these images from the genocide, and I etched them onto handmade paper, and I'm putting them in the middle of these milk crates. So I'm using the milk crates as a framing mechanism. So I'm trying to think of ways of lighting them, because then I realized also these are all images of the Levant that are etched and printed and then lit and making illuminated manuscripts.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this labor-intensive sculptural illuminated manuscript right now. I'm not sure where it's headed.
No, but it's interesting.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. We may never see it.
We may not ever see it.
No, and I do want to clarify that when I said the election, it was tied to that. Well, the thing that caused me so much anxiety was just watching people like not understand, like, and just kind of be gung ho about continuing the administration that was doing it.
That was the frustration, and I know what you intended is it's not directly but like it was a culmination, and then afterwards. And then the takeaway that everybody's just sexist was so fucking reductive. It was so reductive, and it's just the inactivity of so many people, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks activity for Kamala. I'm like, no, and everybody just abandoned the movement. Like nobody's really talking about it anymore. Now, is anyone really putting action? Is there any coalition building happening? All they did was bitch. They said they were going to do. I'm actually going to have. I'm not really seeing the post building of nothing. Yeah. And I want to acknowledge that last time that we talked, we kind of knew this was coming. Oh yeah. We addressed the Wesley Clark clip where he talks about the seven countries that they wanted to take down in 5 years. Yep. And that was right after 9/11. It's 20 years later, at least, 23 years later, and they're still pursuing that shit. The only country that's not on that that's on that list that's still around is Iran. Is Iran. Everything else, Somalia, all of it. And, it's really upsetting. It really is kind of crazy. And I remember at that time when we talked about it, we had this intellectual understanding of what it was going to happen. But once it happened, and it's still terrifying. Once it got into Lebanon, it was heartbreaking. My mom, Lebanon has always has continued to be a target of Western imperialism for my entire life since I was a kid. And when we lived in Italy, my mom spoke to a man, a Lebanese man, and she was talking about Beirut to him, and he said something to the effect of, beautiful things are cursed, and that's why Lebanon is cursed. It's and I think that like people just don't understand what that city actually is, because they just get this shit propaganda out here, and they're like, oh, this is the first time that I've ever seen. It's not us directly doing it, but it's us. It's part of that greater Israel plan. And people are like we have Al Qaeda in taking over Syria now. It is just so disgusting. And one of the things that the election to me was really like, I was like, oh, okay, this is the year that people understand imperialism. This is the year that they're still so entrenched in the political system, and it's just it breaks my fucking heart. And I just don't know what to do. I feel like a bad person because I am in this machine and I can't, I have to work. We are in the machine. We literally live in the belly of the beast. And we contribute to it without our consent. It's just so brutal of an experience. Yeah, sorry. No, for sure. But I just definitely wanted to get out there that Lebanon is a beautiful place, and Beirut is one of the most amazing places that I've seen. I've seen videos of it. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. It's really special. The entire region is so special. That's why they want it. That's why they want us. That's why they want Gaza. That's where so food bad. That's why they want Palestine so bad. Yeah. It's just. But the irony is the destruction of it. Baalbek is like thousands of years old,
Yeah.
and it's being destroyed. I mean, these are like heritage sites.
No,
It will never be like, it will never exist like that again when you destroy
can't rebuild
it. You can't rebuild a heritage site.
Wow, Notre Dame, they rebuilt it, you know, and like, fuck it. It is chauvinism.
It is. But so anywho, what we can do is coalition build and work and support and listen to people. I mean,
and I think
this is not the first go around. I mean, of realizing that the state doesn't have your back, you know, and the police doesn't have your back. Like, we knew this in 2020, like during the uprisings, Black Lives Matter. They still matter, by the way. They didn't stop mattering. Like, all of a sudden, like, you should still care. Yeah. There's still actions that needs to be done, and groups that are doing that work, and so it's very interesting how when these things happen, it becomes trendy. Yeah. And then that's the problem with trends. They come and go, but this kind of work it's forever work.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. The moment you let up.
And it will put your job at risk.
It will put your job at risk. I've constantly been put at, like, definitely lost opportunity or thoughts of what opportunity could be, and consistently throughout my entire career. But in the end, can
you live with yourself?
Exactly. Can you live with yourself? I live in it's funny because I had just lost work actually recently. Really? And my friend was like so mad on my behalf. As well, and I was very angry.
You're just used to it. Yeah, you're like, I appreciate it, but this is my life.
And no, I appreciated it, and it is a loss, and it is fucked up. And I also realized how fucked up I am in my head a little bit, that no matter what goes down, I'll be like, I'll be fine. Yeah, because I've literally been through so much, and I'm just like, I'll be fine. Yeah, like, even if I were to lose, let's say I crumble as an artist, my reputation is destroyed, I'm never going to show again, no school will ever hire me. Let's say all of that. In the end, I live in California. Yeah. There is Medicare. Yeah. That I could work at Target again. Yeah. like I have a mom that loves me. I could raid her fridge at any time. This is my blessings. Yeah. Like, my bottom line is that I will live, maybe not happy, and that's still screwing me over, and it's still fucked up, and it's still unfair, but I live in California, so there's a huge privilege to that. Yeah. And against my choice to my choice, yeah, I just happen to be here, and it came with a lot of advantages.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good ending point, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. That sounds
great.
I
mean, I could undercut whatever you just said.
No, that's great. And
by trying to say something profound too, but no. Well, dude, like I said, we don't really know each other, but I feel like you're one of my best friends.
That's so great. I'm happy second time meeting you.
Yeah, and first time meeting in person. Yeah. I'm serious about like us hanging out. We're neighbors, so.
Yeah, we're 6 minutes away from each other. Yeah,
so I definitely.
You said you liked rock climbing?
Yeah, I went yesterday. I didn't want to push that again, but yeah, we can definitely go rock climbing. Yeah. Anytime you want, I got a free pass.
I like it because I can lean on different limbs. Yeah, so yeah. I just super upper body strong, so I could climb like that.
No, dude.
My legs just like wave at the bottom of the mountain.
And there's
it's really strong.
And there's a intimacy to it too, because you're there and you're supporting someone on a rope while they're fucking challenging their own brain, because you sometimes you're just like, no, I can make it, and you have to convince yourself. And I've mostly been doing like light workouts, but my friend is in town and I lead climb, and I haven't been able to do that because,
I need a belayer.
Yeah. So anytime, dude, you just hit me up. I don't want to like badger you, but but we're definitely gonna hit that up because I got much love for you. Okay. And actually, you have helped me keep my sanity through all this stuff. Just seeing that you're out there, and you know, when everybody started sharing all the violence and kind of like the snuff films that were coming out of there, I laid back. I was like, this seems like black squares. And when the situation happened with George Floyd, which we talked about in depth. I think I may have said it then, but I was like, I was so disappointed because that was another time I was like, oh, we understand imperialism as a culture and we don't. We just don't fucking get it. Everybody's talking about privilege and they don't realize that just being on this massive land and being allowed to stay here is the greatest privilege in the world because we're killing everybody to make our privilege, you know? So anyway, anything that we can promote for you?
Nah.
Your Instagram?
I'll let you know. You can promote my Instagram. It's private now, though.
Well, you can screen people.
I'll screen you.
If I'm following them, they're probably good.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's Garfield Ave. Garfield Ave, 2 underscores.
Between Garfield and Ave?
Yeah, okay. And I just decided to go private and switch it up. And my literal viewership went up.
No, I know you told. I saw. Yeah, well, you didn't tell me. You told everybody.
But I was all like, I went from 20 views to like 300.
I still don't get that much on my stories, man.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe I should do that too.
Yeah. It's just make yourself a cartoon. Look at my website. It's good to look at that. Put me in shows in 2025. So
for sure. Yeah, I'm excited that Dakota put us in a show too.
He did. We do. We should promote that. OCC Doyle in when? February?
In I don't know when it opens the 27th. I don't know when the opening is. Okay. The official I don't know. Opening party. But January. Yeah, we're gonna have a What's My Thesis show with a bunch of former guests from the show. I'm really excited with the lineup. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, dude. People trust me.
You've been doing it for a minute. Dude. Yeah. Trust that you've been doing it.
Yeah. No, I keep constantly realizing that people respect me, and I'm like, what?
I know what.
You know, like, I mean, it completely overshadows any negative experience that I've talked about on the show that I've had. You know, but yeah. So thank you very much for coming on, dude. It's always a pleasure. I'm really excited to go climbing with you, and thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do to help us. You can like and subscribe. You can rate us 5 stars, and we're dropping early access episodes every week. So if you want to get the episode from next week ahead of time, it's $5 a month on Patreon. And I think I'm going to do you can just, if you want to selectively pick out episodes ahead of time, you're so excited that you can't wait to hear it, $6 for a one-time purchase. We need money. Much as bad as I feel asking for it, we can't just keep burning money. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll be back with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related.
Thank you.